We're glad you're here. Thank you for coming. Okay. All right. So this is one of the more pleasant things that we do on the Board of Education is meeting and welcoming people to permanent employment. I know you've been here as an interim. So we are going to now invite Colleen Hussey to come up. She is being nominated for the position of Assistant Principal at Fairgrounds Elementary School for the 2019-2020 school year. So this is your opportunity to reacquaint us with your background, and we'll have a chance to ask some questions. So would you like to begin by, thank you, by just telling us a little bit about your background and what you've been doing?
Yes,
Good
evening. Thank you so much for having me here. So currently I am the interim assistant principal at Fairgrounds Elementary here in Nashua. Prior to this job change, I was a classroom teacher in Bedford, New Hampshire for 4 years and a classroom teacher in Concord, New Hampshire for 4 years before that. I currently live in Manchester, New Hampshire with my husband and my daughter. And I've been a coach at Manchester West High School for about 9 years prior to becoming the interim assistant principal.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll open it up to any questions or comments from anyone who is here. Mr. Soden?
Thank you and welcome. Can you talk a little bit about your philosophy of discipline?
Absolutely. I feel like discipline is really where I have a passion for working with students. I look at discipline and consider discipline in the sense of let's work to find a solution. Let's work to think about new strategies or different strategies students can use when they're in a predicament. For instance, if there's a fight out on the playground, talking with those students about things that they could do next time, understanding how other students might be feeling in that moment, to really learn about how to become a better person. I focus a lot on what to do next time, not what just had happened, but what they can work on for next time.
Okay. Do you have a behavior program? I know we have several in the district, PBIS. I want to say, what's the one at Ledge Street that they had, and they're working on it at Amherst Street? I forgot. But they're a leader in me. Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you. Do you have a program that you follow throughout the school? So each grade reinforces what happened there?
So we don't have a classified program, but we do follow models of responsive classroom or focusing on things that the student can be doing, creating a climate and culture where students feel appreciated, ways that we could speak to students, ways we speak to staff, just a full understanding of how to best support a student as well as staff in the building.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Raymond.
Thank you, and welcome. Can you speak briefly about your experience with students who aren't identified, who you then think perhaps might need an IEP, or even who aren't identified and then are having some behavioral issues at school?
Yeah, so that's really one of my main jobs as assistant principal. I focus on, it's called CHAT, where it's a group of myself, teachers in the building, other professionals who have a lot of experience and knowledge, and teachers bring up students' names and fill out a little form that gives us academic information, social and emotional information about a child, and we take all of that information and talk amongst ourselves and make plans such as going to observe the child, having a conversation with the child, getting some more kind of academic information, and whether the child needs to go to the special ed department where we focus on kind of going through the referral process with that student and that family, or if we focus on maybe this child needs a behavior plan and we focus on going down that route.
Great, thank you. And just as a follow-up, what do you mean by a behavior plan outside of the IEP process?
So sometimes students need a little extra support in terms of kind of defining what is right and what they need to focus on. So if we have an earned system for a student who maybe is having a couple outbursts in the classroom or is having some trouble socializing with peers their own age, we might create a behavior plan on, things to focus on, things that student can do, social stories, giving that child the language and the understanding of what they can do and focus on for next time.
Sorry, I didn't turn my microphone back on. Thank you very much. That's excellent.
Thank you.
Mr. Guarino, do you have anything?
Yes, thank you. I just have a quick question. I just want to say welcome. But you said you coached. Did you mention what you coached? What kind of sports?
So I coached 3 seasons, cross country, indoor, and outdoor track.
Oh, great. I just had a quick question about how do you have any ideas on how to get kids moving more? Because today, our students, there are less and less students that walk to school than ever before. And I think kids need to be moving and get exercise. A lot of kids that may not be participating in sports, but I was just wondering if you had any ideas about how to encourage kids to walk to school or bike to school or get them moving somehow.
I think the important thing to remember is to just continually have conversations with kids out on the playground. Sometimes I like to walk outside on the playground during the school day and see what the students are doing at recess and just encourage movement of any kind. I know we talk a lot with our staff and our teachers about how important movement is, from walking in the hallway to going outside and getting a breath of fresh air. Continuing to have conversations with families about safe ways that they can get students to school. I myself walk outside every day at dismissal and walking students up and down to make sure they get into cars. And if adults are showing the appropriate ways to be moving and active outside, then oftentimes students will pick up on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about what you've been doing as a partner, an educational partner with teachers and paras as they're going through pilot? I know we've had some English language arts pilots. You probably have students, teachers at your school doing that, and we're going to be adopting actually tonight the new materials. So how would you see yourself going forward supporting people as they're learning these, to use these new resources that we're getting?
I think the most important piece of when you're adopting a new curriculum or a program of any kind is to listen, to let teachers try it out, and then to listen and hear their feedback and support them in the ways that they really want. I know myself, I'm in the classrooms as much as possible. I have a lot of primary experience in terms of reading and math and giving students the opportunity for suggestions or little things that they can do to enhance their learning, but also to make them feel a more confident educator themselves. Continuing meetings, Fairgrounds has an awesome opportunity where we do collaborations every day on an 8-day cycle. So we're constantly hearing what teachers are doing in the classroom and ways to better support them. Yeah.
Right, that's great. No, it's exciting. These are exciting things that are happening in our schools, and thank you. All right, so if we don't have any more questions, I am going to make a motion to nominate Colleen Hussey, Assistant Principal at Fairgrounds Elementary School for the 2018-2020 school year at an annual salary of $74,750.
I second that.
Okay, so we will vote. So I vote yes. Mrs. Oden?
Yes.
And I guess we ask you for the third part.
No,
Oh,
we have
Gloria. Is
Gloria.
she still with us?
Yes.
Gloria? Mrs. Timmons? There she is. Oh, she made it. Okay, thumbs up. There she is. Okay. Okay.
Hi. Thank you.
So are you a yes vote, Mrs. Timmons?
I did interview her. Absolutely a yes.
All right, congratulations and
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much and have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thank you. You too.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Yay. 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 All right. Is he here?
Yeah, I told him 6:15, so he's not here. No, he should be.
Okay.
So you want to do personnel
Sure.
recommendations? Yeah, we'll do that.
All right. Okay, we're going to go a little bit out of order on our agenda. Look at that, we love each other, they're hugging, that's very nice. Thank you. Okay. All right, so we are going to go to our personnel recommendations dated May 13th, 2019. And Ms. O'Gara has told me that there is a change on number 2. That is not a 4th grade position, it's a kindergarten position. And if we go to the second page, item number 9, some of these renominations are going to be put on hold, and you'll correct me. Do you want to explain it?
The athletic coordinators, the amounts that you see there are in the board-approved budget, but they have not been approved by the aldermen. So Mr. Donovan and I were speaking about that this morning. So you can move them forward without the amounts pending aldermen, or we can just take them off. Just the coordinators, not the equipment managers. And the coordinator for North already went through because the person that had been in that position resigned from that position, and the board had already approved the coordinator in a prior HR and board meeting.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions about this? Sorry, Mrs. Raymond.
Thank you. So it sounds like our options are to approve it, but then we'd have to put a caveat pending the alderman, because if we approve it without putting that caveat, then we're on the hook for the money whether we have it or not, right?
I believe so.
Okay. So we should definitely make a motion that reflects that.
Mrs. Oden.
I just want to say I will have to abstain to avoid a conflict of interest.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay. All right. So help me if I get this wrong. I am going to make a motion to approve the personnel recommendations dated May 13th, 2019, with the change to number 2 from a grade 4 position to a kindergarten position. And on number 9, we are going to hold the, well, how are we going to say this? We are going to hold the athletic coordinator positions pending the aldermanic approval of the budget. Is that right? Okay. Does that sound okay? All right. Okay, I'm looking for a second.
Second.
All right, and a vote. Mrs. Timmons?
Yes.
Mrs. Porter votes yes. Mrs. Oden?
Abstain.
Oh, abstain. So we're all set, right? 2? Okay. 2-0, motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I have no idea. I think you, yeah, I don't know. Okay.
Sorry, just procedurally, we can't approve both administrative recommendations until,
Right, so we had a separate motion for the first one,
okay.
and we're waiting.
For Mr. Falzarano.
We're waiting for him to arrive. I guess he was told to come a little bit later, yes?
I'd like to take a short recess until he arrives.
Good idea. Okay,
Okay.
thank you. All right, so we'll be in recess until he arrives, and we will reconvene. It is 6:20. Item is to meet Mr. Falzarano. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Beautiful. All right, he is being nominated for the principal position at Pennachuck Middle School for the 2019-20 school year.
Correct.
So welcome. Thank you.
Nice
And
to be
what-
here.
Glad to have you. And what we generally do is in the beginning is to have you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll follow it up if we have any questions from members of the board.
Very good.
Okay.
I am Gabe Falzarano. I'm currently an associate principal at Alvern High School. Previous to that, I taught 8th grade science.
Is your
Check
mic
the
on?
button on
Like,
your,
it's
It's
green.
on.
Would you like me to move closer?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, excuse me. Excuse me. So currently I'm the associate principal at Alvern High School. I've been that for the past 2 years. Previous to that, I was 5 years at the middle school. I was moved to the high school with a cohort of students that I knew well. They thought they needed some added support at the high school. Started my career teaching physical science 6th through 8th grade. The schools that I were at had physical science at different levels. Prior to that, I was going to be an athletic trainer, working with athletes, but decided education is where I wanted to be based on conversation I recalled having with my 4th grade teacher. So I pursued that, and now I'm here. I feel like I'm ready to lead a building, and happy to be going back to middle school.
Very good, thank you.
you.
All right, do we have any questions or comments from members? Mrs. O. Oh,
Okay. Welcome. God bless you. Middle school is, I believe people that teach middle school ought to get a bonus. Yeah.
I agree, thank you.
Every middle school teacher I've spoken to said, I love it, you just have to keep a sense of humor.
Absolutely.
But could you tell me a little bit about your philosophy of discipline?
Sure. I don't see discipline as a punishment. I see it as a consequence and a corrective action, especially in middle school. Middle school students are really in that mode between being really well cared for at the elementary school because they're in a somewhat of a closed environment, whether they are in one room all day long or 1 or 2 rooms as they try to transition into that middle school feel. So you get a sense when you get to middle school of freedom. And because you're moving between classes, and what do you do with that newfound freedom? Test the limits a bit. And so in doing so, knowing that, I know students are going to test the boundaries. Is my role as a student disciplinarian to say, hey, look, you really need to, here's where the boundary line is at. You've crossed it, it's okay, I get it, for the more non-egregious things. And we've got to learn from that, and this is how we're going to learn. There needs to be a bit of a corrective action so that they feel the idea of being held back a bit if they have to stay after school for detention or something of that nature. But at the same time, it's got to be a learning moment. It can't just be, here's your punishment, I'm walking away, I'm moving on. If we don't correct and we don't make them understand why that is not the best choice to make during the day, they're never really going to learn from it. And it's really all about the learning.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
as a follow-up question on that, so you're coming from outside the district, so you're going to be a new person in Nashua,
Yep.
a new person at Pennachuck. How do you see, what do you see yourself doing in the beginning, in the summer, as you're meeting faculty members, as the school year begins? How do you see yourself setting a tone for Pennachuck?
Okay. Prior to the school year, during the summer, I looked at what I thought about once I was offered the position and told that I was moving forward was what would I do initially? What were my very short-term goals to get to know the culture and the community? And so any teacher that is willing to take some time out of their time, summer is their time to relax, recharge, work on their craft, but if they're willing to come in and visit with me just one-on-one, I'd like to start there. Small meetings, just to get to know you. I'm not going to impose any philosophies on them. I'm not going to tell them what the goals are immediately for the year. It's just, who are you? Here's who I am. I really want to start that tone off right away. As many teachers and paras, nurses, anybody who's willing over the summer. We can't force them to come in over the summer, so during those first week or two of school, carving out some time again to meet with each person individually. I'd like to know people on a personal level. When I get to know people on a personal level, the interactions that we have always work out much better, no matter what those interactions are. Setting the tone with the students, it's coming in and being firm and fair. It's not being, this is what we are going to do, this is what you're not going to do, but it's, here's who I am, here's what I believe in, here's what I believe in for your education. And it's really all about respecting me, respecting the staff, and respecting each other. And I like to focus in on the first week or two on the respect factor in the building. I'm sure it already exists. Again, not knowing your community, not being in that building. Again, I'm pretty sure it exists, but I'd like to reiterate what respect means to me, what respect means to interpersonally with each other as peers and with their staff members. You're welcome.
Thank you. Good luck. I hope that goes exceptionally well. Does anybody else have a question or a comment?
I have a comment.
Okay, Mrs. Timmons.
Congratulations. Good
Thank you.
seeing you again. I was on your interview team, as you know.
Yes.
And you did a wonderful job, and I'm glad to see you.
Thank you.
So congratulations. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Guarino? No?
I just want to say welcome, and I guess I'm going to ask you the same question I asked the previous assistant principal. How do you, how can we get students to move, moving athletically and walking to school and biking to school? Can you give me your thoughts on how we can improve that? Because today a lot less of our students walk to school or bike to school.
So you're at, are we talking just to and from school, or are we talking globally throughout the entire day, like starting with the initial movement, getting to school, and then throughout the day?
I would say globally, yeah.
That would be great. Well, just even if we could over the summer, if there's already a cohort of students that like to walk or ride their bikes, trying to get them involved, opening it up to the parents, because it's really the parents that need to feel comfortable. Students, I think, automatically, there are going to be students who are hesitant, but I think inherently the students, if they can leave their house and walk to school, take their bike, and they know that their parents are comfortable, they will. So if it means that we meet at the school and walk the surrounding area, that would be great. I would welcome that. It's not only going to give me an opportunity to say to the kids, hey, let's get ourselves moving in the morning, it's going to give me an opportunity to meet the parents. The parents are going to trust in me that I'm looking out for the safety of their children the best that I can from their door to our door. And if that means we walk the surrounding area, I think that's a really good way to start. Again, I think a good portion of students maybe not walking or riding their bikes already is parents' comfort. And so if we can get them comfortable and the parents say, hey, it's beautiful out. Why don't we get some exercise? Why don't you take a walk? Why don't you take your bike? At least we know 2 times a day that they're going to be walking to and from school. Throughout the day, if there are movement breaks that we can take, again, I have to look at the schedule. I've looked at it cursory online, but I know every team does a little bit something different. If there are times that we can put in there that students can go outside and get some air, I'm all for it. The more fresh air, the better, the livelier their brain's going to be. We all know that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mrs. Oden?
I'm sorry, I have another one.
Yes, ma'am.
What methods do you use to communicate with parents? Often, I know as a board we often hear, well, I didn't know about that, and we do send out. We have a e-news that we send out, but sometimes people don't read it. And communication is a two-way street. I realize that, but what methods have you used to ensure communication?
So when you're looking at a holistic global message, the current point of service, I guess you would call it, that we use comes with a messaging system. I'm not sure if your system does. I've looked at the name of it, but I haven't had a chance to investigate it. If the system that we have for data entry on students has a messaging system, that's an easy use. But I only use those things for just announcements at the school. I tend to move away from email if it's more personal and speak one-on-one on the phone with parents. If we're doing big global communications about what's going on at the school, Outlook calendar, if you're an Outlook Google type school, Microsoft school is wonderful, at least it gives them an idea of what the events are in the building. And then a weekly update is fantastic if we have, again, a system that allows to make groups. If we could do sixth grade, 7th grade, 8th grade group, even team groups, I'm all for that. But when it comes to communication via email, I only stick to the basics. I don't get into heavy topics. Heavy topics through email tend to blow up. Heavy topics are one-on-one. I love having people or small groups in an office or cafeteria together to talk. Otherwise, again, those very basic things that are going on in the building, only those things go out through email.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, excellent. All right. Okay, so I make a motion to nominate Gabriel Falzarano as principal of Pennachuck Middle School for the 2019-2020 school year at an annual salary of $99,250. I have a second?
I second it.
Okay, we have a couple of seconds. All right, Gloria. All right, Mrs. Timmons?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Yes,
okay.
that's a yes.
Mrs. Porter votes yes, and Mrs. Oden?
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Welcome. We
Welcome.
wish you every success, and by extension, Pennachuck Middle School. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our business today for the Human Resources Committee. So I make a motion to adjourn. It is 6:35.
Second?
Second, and
Yes.
how do you vote, Mrs. Timmons? Yes, I vote yes, and
Yes.
Mrs. Oden. Okay, so we are adjourned, 6:35. Thank you.